Hello, all you film freaks and movie maniacs out there. My name is Nolan Carr, and I'd like to welcome you to the go-to podcast for all things cinema. But before you can ask any questions, just sit back, relax, as I present to you a Straw Lane Studio Productions Critiquing with Carr. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of the show here, Critiquing with Carr, for Memorable Movie Monday. As always, if you've enjoyed episodes such as this one, do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube, following us on the audio platforms, clicking a thumbs up or like button so you can tell us you enjoy these episodes, turning on post notifications so you can stay up to date on those platforms with no episode delays, as well as clicking at share out so you can continue to go to the podcast with our friends and family. Also, if you want other ways of staying up to date with the show, do us a favor by following us on Instagram at Critiquing with Carr. I say all that because on today's special edition of Memorable Movie Monday here on Critiquing with Carr, we're talking about the classic 1941 film, Citizen Kane. And with that being said, let's begin. The director, co-screenwriter, producer, and star of this film was Orson Welles. The other co-screenwriter for this film was Herman J. Mankiewicz. The cast for this very interesting and eclectic film is as follows: Orson Welles, Joseph Cotten, Dorothy Comingore, Everett Sloane, Ray Collins, George Coulouris, Agnes Moorehead, Paul Stewart, Ruth Warwick, Erskine Sanford, and William Allen. The cinematographer for this film was Greg Toland. This film was edited by Robert Wise. The musical score for this film was done by Bernard Herrmann. The co-production companies for this film were RKO Radio Pictures and Mercury Productions. This film was also distributed by RKO Radio Pictures. This film was first released at the Palace Theater on May 1st of 1941, as well as nationally in the United States on September 5th of 1941. The runtime for this film was 119 minutes. The budget for this film was $839,727 US, and the box office grand total for this film was $1.8 million US. The very short list of accolades for this film are as follows. At the Academy Awards, Orson Welles and Herman J. Mankiewicz won for Best Visual Screenplay. At the New York Film Critics Circle Awards, the movie won for Best Picture. And finally, last but not least, at the National Board of Review Awards, the movie also won for Best Film. And now it comes time for one of my two favorite parts, which I list off the top 10 highest-grossing films that airs released being 1941's Citizen Kane. Coming in last place at 10th was A Yank in the RAF. It was distributed by 20th Century Fox. Its worldwide gross was $2.06 million US. It stars Tyrone Power, Betty Grable, and John Sutton. Coming ninth place on this list was Caught in the Draft. It was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Its worldwide gross was $2.2 million US. And it stars Bob Hope, Dorothy Lamour, and Eddie Bracken. Coming eighth place on this list was How Green Was My Valley. It was distributed by 20th Century Fox. Its worldwide gross was $2.4 million US. And it stars Waldor Pigeon, Maureen O'Hara, and Donald Crisp. Coming in seventh place on this list was Louisiana Purchase. It was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Its worldwide gross was $2.75 million US. And it stars Bob Hope, Vera Zorina, and Victor Moore. Coming in sixth place on this list was Ziegfeld Girl. It was distributed by Lowe's Incorporated. Its worldwide gross was $3.1 million US. It stars James Stewart, Judy Garland, and Hedy Lamarr. Coming at the halfway mark at fifth was Men of Boys Town. It was distributed by Lowe's Incorporated. Its worldwide gross was $3.16 million US. And it stars Spencer Tracy, Mickey Rooney, and Bob Watson. Coming in fourth place on the list was The Philadelphia Story. It was distributed by Lowe's Incorporated. Its worldwide gross was $3.3 million US. And it stars Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, and James Stewart. Coming in third place with the bronze medal on this list was Honky Tonk. It was distributed by Lowe's Incorporated. Its worldwide gross was $3.98 million US, and it stars Clark Gable, Lana Turner, and Claire Trevor. Coming in second place with the silver medal was They Die with Their Boots On. It was distributed by Warner Bros. Its worldwide gross was $4.01 million US, and it stars Errol Flynn, Olivia de Havilland, and Arthur Kennedy. And finally, coming in number one with the gold medal as the highest-grossing film for 1941 was Sergeant York. It was distributed by Warner Bros. Its worldwide gross was $8.3 million US, and it stars Gary Cooper, Walter Brennan, and Joan Leslie. And now for the moment we've all been waiting for, my review of 1941's Citizen Kane. Orson Welles' Citizen Kane has long been lauded as the greatest film ever made, a title that has earned it a near mythical place in cinema history. But after watching it, I find myself somewhat conflicted. While there's no denying the film's groundbreaking nature and its technical achievements, I don't fully understand the widespread acclaim it receives. The film opens with a striking and eerie image, the desolate and decaying estate of Xanadu, where Charles Foster Kane's life comes to an end. This is a brilliant choice by Welles, immediately setting the tone for what's to come. Xanadu, once a symbol of unimaginable wealth and power, is now just an empty shell. The choice to show the grandeur of Kane's world now reduced to ruin is a powerful visual metaphor for his life. It's not just about his financial empire, it's about his unrelenting drive to control and influence the world around him. The film does a remarkable job showing how this ambition both elevates him and eventually consumes him. However, despite the fascinating premise, some parts of the film falter, particularly early on. One element that felt rushed and rather dull was the newsreel obituary about Kane's life. While it's supposed to serve as a quick summation of his life, the newsreel feels dry and almost out of place in a film that is otherwise so meticulous in its pacing and narrative. I understand it's intended to be a surface-level introduction to Kane's life, but it felt far too quick and lacking in depth. It's a minor misstep, but one that sets a less than engaging tone in the early part of the film. What does improve the pacing is the investigation into Kane's final words, Rosebud. By the time he's established himself as a powerful newspaper mogul, he's already started to lose touch with the very thing that once motivated him, the idea of being loved and respected. That theme of love, or the lack of it, is central to the story. Kane's drive for power and control stems from a desperate need to be loved and admired, but in his quest for affection, he pushes people away. His marriage to Emily Norton, his first wife, deteriorates as Kane becomes more consumed by his work. Later, his marriage to Susan Alexander also crumbles, and she becomes the symbol of his ultimate failure. One of the most fascinating elements of Kane's character is his unrelenting drive to be adored. He doesn't just want to be loved, he wants the world to recognize him, to see him as the center of attention. In many ways, Citizen Kane is a cautionary tale about the dangers of ambition and the emotional toll that comes with it. Kane's obsession with control leads him to alienate his friends, such as Jedediah Leland, who exposes the man's flaws during a drunken rant. Leland reveals that Kane, once driven by a desire to serve the working class, has become consumed by wealth, power, and self-interest. The contrast between the idealistic Kane of his youth and the cynical, manipulative businessman he becomes is one of the most tragic aspects of his character. Yet even with all these compelling storylines, the film falters in places. For instance, the final 15 minutes, which focuses on Susan's departure and Kane's breakdown, felt lackluster. While Kane's destructive behavior during this time is important for understanding his inner turmoil, the sequence where he destroys Susan's room is strangely awkward. It's clear that Wells, in the role of an older Kane, is struggling physically. The scene loses its emotional impact because of this. Additionally, the film's use of echo in Kane's mansion during conversations is a stylistic choice that, while innovative, ends up distracting from the story. In conclusion, despite these flaws, Citizen Kane is still an important film and one that will continue to be studied and discussed for years to come. It's a fascinating character study of a man who achieved everything he thought he wanted but ended up losing the most important thing, love. Wells' direction is masterful in places, and the film's influence on modern cinema is undeniable. While it's not a film I'll rush to rewatch, I can appreciate its place in cinema history and the story it tells about ambition, power, and the consequences of losing sight of what really matters. With that being said, I can confidently give this very interesting film, Citizen Kane, a score of 7 out of 10 on the Diamond Dave scale. And with that being said, my film freaks and cinephiles, as always, if you've enjoyed this week's edition of the show here, Critiquing with Carr, for Memorable Movie Monday, do us a favor by subscribing on YouTube, following us on the audio platforms, clicking a thumbs up or like button so you can tell us you enjoy these episodes, turning on post notifications so you can stay up to date on those platforms and know episodes release, as well as clicking and share out so you can continue the podcast with all your friends and family. Also, if you want other ways of staying up to date with the show, do us a favor by following us on Instagram at Critiquing with Carr. And with that being said, my film freaks and cinephiles, take care.